Hey, it's Gerald from Lakers Fast Break. Anchor is the easiest way to make your next podcast. It's absolutely free, and their creation tools will allow you to record and edit your show right from your phone or your home computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on great podcast outlets like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started on your next podcast. We're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And I'll tell you what, if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That 5-star review, we truly appreciate it. Or anything that you can do to support, like, and also follow us here at the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate it. I've got an interesting guest from abroad, international style this time on the Lakers Fast Break. Overseas, they love their basketball just as much as they do here in the States. NBA is around the corner. A lot of people are excited. The bubble is not burst as of yet. Looks like it's going to be getting off to a good start for the Los Angeles Lakers. And here today to talk about what's going on inside the NBA bubble is a good man indeed. You got to check out what he's doing today on YouTube at the Kev Pod. Indian sports podcast. In fact, it is the Indian sports podcast that's out there. It is Kevin Somani. And Kevin, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today on the program.
Yeah, thanks to you, Gerald. I wasn't, I was really expecting that someone with whom I can talk basketball about since a long time. And, the NBA had just shut down and I was like watching all the rewinds, all the retakes, making myself label to the history. And I just really wanted to talk new about basketball, something new happening about basketball. So it's really grateful for me that I am at your podcast and at a time when NBA is going to come back. Right now the scrimmages are going on and then we are going to see a totally different way of NBA being played. Not never recorded in history, I guess it never would be. And this is, one of the historic times when we'll see NBA in such a way that you have got 8 games to qualify and a different qualifier session there and then the playoffs. It's just going to be a whole lot of roller coaster ride, that's for sure.
Well, you live in such a vast country that so many millions of people, one of the largest countries in the world, and also one of the largest contingents of basketball fans out there that's available. And I'll tell you what, it's so great to see that kind of support for the NBA from the folks in India, such as yourself. What are you excited most about the NBA season coming up?
What am I expecting? Okay, so first things first, NBA is back. That's the biggest thing because I personally wasn't expecting because of this pandemic. But now the NBA is back. A lot of stories are going to build up, and we as journalists or journalism students always seek for new stories. So you have got, will Lakers win? Who would be the first player to win 3 trophies with 3 different franchises? First one is Kawhi Leonard, and second is LeBron James. So that's another story. We are going to see Heat being a dark horse in the playoffs because the way they are performing with Jimmy Butler partnered with Bam Adebayo, and as always Eric Spoelstra is there. That's another thing I'm looking forward to. Then we have got Greg Popovich, who has not a very good season, a dicey one I should say this time, but still they are in the still they are the contingents of the playoffs. So I'm expecting Greg Popovich to come up. On the other side, we have got a Raptors without Kawhi. They are still performing like hell. Obviously, Nick Nurse is playing great. the bench players, the players who partnered with Kawhi and then they played, they are still playing without him. Then you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is just a dominant Shaq. Thin version of Shaq coming to the NBA and dominating the paint. He added another thing into the game. That's a 3 point. Then you have got Ben Simmons, who just out of nowhere just started. We just saw the glimpse, but possibly we have seen that he can now shoot threes. So a lot of stories, but these are the ones which just came up to my mind, and these are the ones which are being really talked from the past months and from the past months now. So I guess this much is a lot.
Absolutely. It's been a great time so far watching all these players and scrimmages, and the upcoming season has got us all very excited for it. You mentioned Greg Popovich first, and that's something I haven't talked about too much on this show. And the fact that he is closer to, as far as, let's say, his retirement is concerned, and there's talk about him even possibly switching teams to another team down the road, because we're not sure exactly what's going on with San Antonio, because unfortunately, they are in deep when it comes to not making the playoffs, and this would be one of the first years in a long, long time. In fact, they have a consecutive streak, the longest in the NBA ever, of the consecutive years in the NBA playoffs. That is definitely in jeopardy in this next 8-game scenario, because they would have to jump over the Pelicans, they'd have to jump over the Kings, and they'd have to jump over the Blazers and the Grizzlies to get in the playoffs. That's a tall order to ask to jump over 4 teams, and with a team that doesn't even have LaMarcus Aldridge there because he had season-ending surgery, it doesn't really look good for the Spurs at this point in time.
Well, talking about Spurs in this season, it's like talking without their long-reigning king with a army behind it, because LaMarcus Aldridge has been a good serviceman to San Antonio Spurs and has been alongside Greg Popovich for a long, long time. And now LaMarcus Aldridge not being there, the whole thing comes over to DeMar DeRozan, or else the other players who are coming up. That's Brian Forbes, or sometimes Patty Mills, or the newbie, the Walker. But the thing is, what I feel is Greg has a great sense of technicality. He has a great sense of strategy, and he always comes up something new. The way he came from the only post-dominant Duncan era to the whole passing kind of spacing kind of thing with Kawhi Leonard, and now the thing is he has a strategy set, but the players are not the way they used to be. Because Greg Popovich had a great playmaker in Tony Parker, a great assistant, a great shooter with Manu Ginobili, a great dominator with Kawhi Leonard, a great center with Tim Duncan. But right now, the thing is, what the kind of players Greg Popovich needs are not there with him on this particular roster. That's what I feel. They have tried to bring them, try to train them, try to bring them in shape, compromise from both of the sides. But the thing is, it's just that the players are not of the style Greg Popovich wants. And that's the thing which is lacking. Or else Greg Popovich and not going for the playoffs is like, you can't expect it if you tell someone from 2012 or someone from the 2010s era, 2010s, that Greg Popovich is going to still coach. He has won the championship, but he's not going to play in the 2020s. So it's like, you won't believe at that particular point of time. But right now, I feel the players are not so acquainted or not so fitting to the game Greg Popovich has planned, or he has been planning for a long, long time.
There's still a great challenge ahead. They still have a chance, but they have to hop over 4 teams to sneak into the playoffs and continue that long, long streak of playoff appearances. He's got a really young team, got a lot of first, second year, and third year players on the team. DeJounte Murray just coming back from an injury at the time of pandemic. There's also Derek White. They've got some youth there, and that might be the problem as far as them learning to acclimate to each other and also acclimate themselves to the league. And you have DeMar DeRozan, who I guess at this point in time, looks like is beginning to be the odd man out, because if San Antonio does not make the playoffs and does go towards a youth movement, he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year, and I don't think he'll be returning back to San Antonio. He plays a different style that's, I guess, not analytic friendly, because he goes and shoots a lot of twos, and he really can't shoot the threes very well. So at this point in time, it looks like DeMar DeRozan is going to have to go ahead and put a lot on his back for them to get into the playoffs. But the challenge is tall, and it's going to be a tall order for the San Antonio Spurs this year.
Yeah, obviously, because I guess when Toronto gave a trade offer for Kawhi Leonard in exchange of DeMar DeRozan with other assets as well, at that point of time, I felt by myself that this isn't going to work out for San Antonio, because of first thing is you're getting a whole different type of player when you get DeMar DeRozan, and when you take Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is a two-way player, and DeMar DeRozan, being the same player is not. I would say he is a more of an offensive player, I should say. Whereas he couldn't fill up the defensive side of Kawhi Leonard. That's obvious. He couldn't fill the defensive side of Kawhi Leonard, and that's true. He's an odd man out for Greg Popovich. It's just a forceful trade for me, just to just settle things with Kawhi Leonard, making him away to somewhere else where he could fit properly after that whole spurt of injury thing which happened with him. So I guess I have a big intuition, I have a big gut feeling that DeMar DeRozan might leave San Antonio Spurs after this season, because he himself doesn't seem so satisfied with their team, nor Greg Popovich seems to be satisfied with DeMar DeRozan. He has a different demands with DeMar, and I guess he's not able to fulfill it. So yeah, that's true. DeMar might leave because there are a lot of dynamic duos. That's the other side you see. When Kawhi Leonard just balanced the NBA this season, I saw a different kind of duos, a very balanced league. But when I see San Antonio, it was a bit dicey. It was a bit shaky when I saw LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, because both of them are totally different kind of players. The other players could contemplate or could compromise with each other, but when it came to DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, I was like, I guess this won't work out, and that's what actually is happening.
This is Raphael from NBADraftJunkies.com, and you are listening to the Lakers Fast Break.
Check out what's been going on with the Pop Culture Cosmos Show and the PCC Multiverse.
I see the potential for basically like another Netflix kind of paradigm shift where here comes this other major player. They have a ton of resources. Apple could change the way that entertainment is consumed.
They say it's the only time this year that you'll have stars from each brand battling each other, and we know it's not going to be the case, but they like to say that, and more power to them, I guess.
Well, it's a big first step, bringing all those superheroes together. There were definitely some parts of the movie that I really enjoyed, and then there were some parts that I thought just kind of fell short of expectation.
Part of it has to be something to do with how it's being promoted, and this is a thing where audiences do not agree with critics.
That's the Pop Culture Cosmos Show.
And the PCC Multiverse, every week on Apple Podcasts.
And over a dozen of your favorite streaming and podcasting options. Once again, I'm speaking to Kevin Somani. You got to check out his awesome podcast called The Kev Pod, Indians' favorite sports podcast, and it's available today on YouTube. That's The Kev Pod, KEVPOD. My favorite episode, I got a chance to listen to them earlier this week. I like personally, can Valorant take place of Counter-Strike Global Offensive? I got a chance to test it out real quickly on Valorant. It seems like a hybrid, personally, of Overwatch and also Counter-Strike itself. A lot of promise for that game, and there's a lot of interest in it. It's free to play, so go ahead, give it a shot. In fact, I'm going to be talking about more about it with my good friend Josh Peterson. So right now, I'll tell you what, if you get a chance, check out Kev Pod. You're going to not only go into Valorant taking the place of Counter-Strike GO, but also as well NBA. He's talking sport with a sports chiropractor. He's talking sports injuries. He's also talking a lot of sports out there. It's a great show, and you got to get the chance to check it out today. It's the Kev Pod on YouTube. Kevin, I'm going to ask you this. Now that we are going into the bubble, now that the season is just around the corner and the playoffs, well, they're about ready to begin as well. I want to hear your thoughts on the Eastern and Western Conference because you have some really, very determined teams. Some of those teams are a little bit in precarious positions with players that are outside the bubble currently, like for the Clippers, also as well. The Bucks have a situation going on with Eric Bledsoe. There's other players involved, like Indiana Pacers with Domantas Sabonis going out with plantar fasciitis. A lot of different variables going on. I want to hear your thoughts on what's going on with the league and who might go ahead and be strong in the upcoming NBA playoffs.
So for the East, I should say there are 3 teams which I'm counting on very much. The first 2 are obviously Milwaukee Bucks and Toronto Raptors because they are the ones who are dominating the East and they're playing very great. And the other is, I should say, I'm not sure if they would play, but I guess come on, I'll just say it's Miami Heat. It's Miami Heat because I earlier said it's a dark horse, and Jimmy Butler is a good in-game leader with the team. He can set up plays with them. You have got Goran Dragic. You have got an experienced Andre Iguodala playing with them, who recently won championship with Golden State Warriors. Then you have got Alex Spoelstra as always. So, a good mix of players with them, a good bench with Kelly Olynyk Jr., Kelly Olynyk to name some. So, these 3 teams which I'm expecting to come out properly or, a powerful and impactful teams from the East. And when you check the West, it's Los Angeles, both the Los Angeles Lakers and Los Angeles Clippers. Yeah, you mentioned that Los Angeles Clippers do not have much players. A lot of players are out. But I guess they might come sometime soon. I'm expecting them. But when you have got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, I guess you don't need anyone else better than the ball feeders or, the ones who match their play, or you can be the sidekick for them, for that duo. You have got Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. And the third one is Denver Nuggets. Jokic came off, a thin Jokic we see, which added some different kind of, I should say, a different kind of game. You saw that that heavy Jokic dominating, at the post. And now you see a playmaker Jokic playing on the perimeter as well. He used to play early on the perimeter as well, but right now also he's playing on the perimeter. You saw in the scrimmage that he's passing the ball to Bol, who just came out of nowhere, I guess. And he said one of his interviews that I wanted to prove because I slipped down to the draft because he was expecting that he would, come higher to the draft, but he couldn't come there. He had something to prove. But then you saw Bol coming out. The first scrimmage, that was great. The second scrimmage, he dominated. And the third scrimmage, I'm expecting that he would play. And I expect the same in the league as well, and as well as the playoffs. Because obviously he's got a great big size. And, a very unorthodoxical game for that tall center. So, these 3 teams from both the conferences, Bucks, Raptors, and Heat, both the Los Angeles Clippers and Lakers with Denver Nuggets.
Well, you've really narrowed it down as far as the teams that you like coming for both conferences that you're really getting into. But when it comes right down to it, there's got to be a finals of only 2 teams, one from the West and one from the East. So I'm going to give you the proverbial warning right now, or I won't say, I'm not putting any gun to anybody's head. You can't do that. You can't even say it these days. But the old adage goes, if I back you against the wall, how about that? Who do you have coming out of it as far as the finals are concerned, the Western and Eastern Conference, and who ultimately will be, do you think, the NBA champion?
For the Los Angeles Clippers and Lakers. Clippers don't have the bench right now with them. A lot of players are missing. For Lakers, everyone's performing. Today, Kyle Kuzma performed. Earlier than that, Cantavius Cardwell performed. You have got, so many great players assisting Davis and James. So I guess I would right now, as of the current situation stands, when Clippers don't have the team, I would count on Lakers. But if Clippers had that particular bench, and if they come, I'm expecting to be, should be coming soon, because I really want, just to shut down. I'm not a LeBron hater, but but it has been a long time of dominance for LeBron, and I want someone new to come up. And I feel Kawhi and PG can bring that particular thing, because they have already, been a lot in talks when they balanced the league, when they partnered each other in the Clippers. So I feel Clippers to come up in the finals from the West, and from the East, I think Antetokounmpo and Milwaukee Bucks should come, because it's a complete team, I guess, because you have got a dominant Antetokounmpo and a lot of ball passers, a lot of perimeter shooters with him, Chris Middleton, or a lot of players. So Milwaukee Bucks and Los Angeles Lakers, as of now, disciplinary warning subject to change. And for the finals win in this particular case scenario, Lakers.
All right. So you think the Lakers are going to come out, as of now, you think the Lakers are going to come out on top in the NBA Finals. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We've had many people on the show already choose the Clippers. They've chosen the Bucks. We've had even some surprise picks. So I respect your opinion any which way you went. And I can understand with the Clippers, they are a very deep team when they're healthy and they're all there. But there's many questions right now going on with the Clippers heading into the regular season. So we'll see how that shapes out. But again, matching up for me, I'm going with the Lakers just because the fact that in a playoff scenario and a matchup scenario, if LeBron and AD are healthy going in there, they're going to be tough to stop. I mean, they've shown it already in glimpses in the scrimmages already in the first half, because they haven't been given much in the way of time, that those two are deadly when they're playing with each other. And it's just remarkable how well they play off of each other. And I'm going and picking the Lakers, but I'm glad to hear that you're picking the Lakers too as well.
Well, another thing, that Lakers are strong enough because they got J.R. Smith.
There you go. And they could be taking also a trip to Waiters Island, because Dion Waiters has performed pretty good so far. The early returns are promising, so I'm hoping they'll continue. But yes, I definitely want to hear and see more when it comes to Los Angeles Lakers going forward. We'll be back with more of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Hey Lakers fans! Looking for the best place to go for up-to-date news, information, original videos, articles, podcasts, opinion pieces, and discussions about the Los Angeles Lakers? Well, look no further than Lakerholics.com. With a legion of followers always there talking about everything Lakers and the NBA, there's no better place to go to share your fandom as the team heads toward another championship run. So stop by and be part of the conversation today at Lakerholics.com. But before we head on out, my friend, I want to go ahead and give you the floor, because once again I'm speaking to Kevin Somani from the Kev Pod, and as I'm going ahead and showing out there on Facebook Live, everyone out there, the Kev Pod on YouTube, go ahead and tell everybody why they need to tune into Kev Pod, who is exactly you, my friend, and why they need to tune into Indians' favorite sports podcast.
Okay, so obviously, podcast for me, I started differently. I had some different other plans. So I wanted some platforms to talk about talk about the sports. And I guess the Kev Pod just gives me that freedom, because it is mine and I can shape it however I want. So I shaped it as an Indian sports podcast. You'll hear about football, soccer, you'll hear about basketball, you'll hear about Indian sports, you'll hear about Indian sports personalities, you'll hear about Indian journalists, sports journalists coming from all over the world. You have got a lot of things for sports. I've got a lot of things coming up with me right now. So just head out to Kev Pod. It's a whole new change, whole new development for the Kev Pod and a lot of things coming up, I should say. And do hear the next podcast, which is coming out tomorrow, which is a weekly wrap about the current sports which has happened in this particular week, covering NBA and soccer mainly, and other things also coming up. So do sure check the next episode coming out tomorrow.
All right, and that's the Kev Pod. You need to check out India's favorite sports podcast today on YouTube. That is the Kev Pod. You see the episodes right there. It's got a quality show. Again, I really liked episode 3 just because I have that pop culture background. But of course, if you like the NBA, if you like as far as football, as far as like soccer, anything you want to, go ahead. It's right there for you. All the things that he's doing today and all the things that he's interviewing and just touching upon. It's a great show indeed. It is India's favorite sports podcast. It's the Kev Pod. Well, I'll tell you what, Kevin, it's just been great having you on the show today. I cannot thank you enough for joining me. Any last thoughts on the way out?
Any last thoughts on the way? Just feeling good. NBA is back. Just feeling good. Football is back. Just feeling good. Formula One is back. And just feeling good. Sports is back. I should say. I'm just hoping to be this particular season be a roller coaster ride in every sport. So, you've got basketball, obviously, a whole lot of sports stories coming out from this particular thing and a lot of more to come. You've got soccer, you've got so many things coming right now in soccer. It's just so much happening at once that, it just feels good. Something is coming back, something you love is coming back. And, I'm just looking forward to, binge sports rather than binge watch Netflix. I want to just, sports and chill, not Netflix and chill. I just want to see sports 24 hours, and I'm happy to see sports 24 hours, and that too new sports. So thanks, Gerald. Thanks a lot for, coming. Let me come to your podcast as a guest and, just give out my opinions. And I hope, as you're a great Lakers fan, I hope this win, Lakers win this particular championship, because it would be a great tribute to Kobe. I hope he rests in peace, because he was one hell of a player. And if Lakers win, that would be the biggest thing you could tribute to Kobe. Nothing more than else.
Absolutely.
So, at the ending note, Kobe Bryant, for you, Lakers are going to win, and that's what I want to tell. Thank you, Gerald.
Well, thank you. I'm happy about the season starting up again. Like you said, I don't think Netflix is going to be too happy, because that's a lot of people switching channels away from what's going on and watching The Old Guard and Extraction and Stranger Things and all that good stuff that's on Netflix. My Netflix algorithm will not be doing anything, but it'll get kind of dusty, because it's going to be a little bit of dust worn off, because I'm going to be watching some basketball and I'm going to be watching some sports, because sports is back with a vengeance, and we're so happy about it. Kevin, I want you to go ahead and stay safe over there in India. We truly appreciate your support and the support of everyone out there. I'm going to get you back on the show in the not-too-distant future. I'm looking forward to it, because you've been an outstanding guest, and I truly appreciate everything that you brought us today at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.